1996 was a big year for a lot of reasons. First off, I was born, which is the most important, but secondly, it was the release year for the Nintendo 64. This console was Nintendo's first big leap into the world of 3D gaming. Obviously, we had games before on the Super Nintendo that sort of dived into the realm of 3D with Donkey Kong Country and Star Fox, but this was different. We had polygons now, and they were really cool. With the leap into this new dimension, a lot had to change for Nintendo's franchises, and I'd say that no other series quite made that leap like Mario with Super Mario 64.
It's me, Mario!
Everyone and their grandmother knows Mario 64. Ironically enough, this was a game that my grandma and I played a lot together. It's just a classic game. It, Ocarina of Time, No Mercy, and GoldenEye 007 were my childhood games when it came to the N64. Mario 64 is still regarded as one of the greatest 3D platformers of all time, and it's still looked back on quite fondly by loads of people. This game and Super Mario Bros. Deluxe for the Game Boy Color are what made me into a Mario fan, and I'd even argue they're what made me into a fan of video games as a whole. I loved the exploration of the game. I loved how Mario controlled, the music, the graphics, and more. However, this game has aged quite a bit. I still think Mario 64 is a charming game, but today I want to go back and relive some of my memories of Mario 64. So today, let's take a trip back in time as we remember Super Mario 64.
Hello!
Super Mario 64 still is one of my favorite title screens in any video game ever. You can just play with Mario's face. That's just really fun. And I like that they actually kind of took this concept and how to put it into Mario Party as a bit of a mini-game. That's really fun. But one of my favorite moments in all of the Mario series has to be the first appearance of Mario in 3D. I don't know what it is about this moment, but it's just really cool. I grew up on 3D Mario, but that shot just still has a bit of like an ah factor to it. Seeing Mario just make that jump into 3D and like, it's just neat. And I grew up on 3D Mario more than the 2D games. Like, I played against Super Mario Bros. Deluxe, but I was more used to the 3D, but even today I still respect that shot a lot. And I know it's a random one, but it's such like a big like leap into the future. At that time, now it's not really a big deal, obviously, because so many things are 3D, but back then you had to think like that's a huge jump. The story of Mario 64 is quite simple. Princess Peach has sent Mario a letter that she's baked him a cake, so now Mario is going to head to Princess Peach's castle in order to get said cake, but shocker, Princess Peach has been kidnapped by Bowser. So now it's up to Mario to go inside the castle, go through paintings, and collect power stars in order to navigate the castle and rescue Princess Peach from Bowser. It's a typical Mario story, but I love the idea of going through paintings in order to navigate from world to world, and a fun fact is that Ocarina of Time was originally going to have this concept with Link going through paintings, basically in Ganon's castle, but that was scrapped, and that would eventually turn into the Forest Temple, but that's just a neat fact I like. Mario 64 was the first Mario game to ever have a central hub that you would run around and play in. The previous Mario games always had a world map that you could kind of like access, but you couldn't run around. Peach's castle here, while not my favorite, still has a lot of fun and cool areas to look at and explore. Exploring all the different rooms, trying to find secret areas that lead you to a secret level is a great way to drag that idea from the world map to the 3D realm with the hub you have here. And I love exploring and finding new secret levels like I mentioned before. One of my favorite things actually is when you find the slide level and you can slide down that. Like that, it's because it's such like a secret thing, and when you find it, you're like, oh, there could be more secret areas and levels in this game, and I love that concept a lot, and I love even when now when games do that, it's really fun. However, while the central hub playground is fun to play in, that's not what you play Mario 64 for. You play it for the levels, and Mario 64 has some of the most memorable levels in the series, but before I get into that, it doesn't really matter if levels are fun if you control poorly. And this is where I'm gonna make some people kinda mad. Mario 64 introduced a whole new moveset to Mario. Just a few examples here are the triple jump, which allows Mario to do progressively higher jumps, making it easy to reach higher platforms, a wall jump, where you'll jump from wall to wall in order to reach higher platforms, a side jump, and my personal favorite ability, the ability to literally walk up to an enemy and punch them in the face. I don't know what it is, but there is just something about the visual of Mario walking up to a Goomba, decking it in the face, that always makes me laugh, and sadly will not return after this game. Mario moveset-wise is totally fine though. I love the new additions to his moveset, and I honestly think the triple and side jumps are really fun to use, and they're a great change for the series, especially that wall jump. For me, though, it's more how Mario controls where I find this game iffy. To perform a wall jump, for example, you have to kick the wall at first in order to perform the jump. Later games just have you kind of stick to a wall and you'll kind of like slowly fall down a bit. But in this game, you have to kick the wall in order to basically get from side to side, and you have to pretty much hit it each time until you reach the platform. Mario 64 is just kind of a bit trickier with that, and when Mario runs, he has a bit of a slide where he kind of stops. It's not a full-on, like, Luigi slide like in later games, where he's like a little bit of traction, but he skids a little bit. But Mario does control tight. It's kind of the main thing I have an issue with is it's more awkward going back to this game, and you have to adapt when you replay 64. You gotta be really careful on platforms so you won't just skid off or accidentally hit an enemy and then fall off. This isn't helped by the camera as well. Now, I'm somewhat willing to give Mario 64 some slack due to it being an early 3D game, but I'd argue a good 75% of your deaths will be due to the camera in this game. Mario 64 isn't a hard game, the camera just fights you a bit. It's often going to screw with you a bit when you're in a tight space, so we're going to use the level of Bowser in the Dark World for an example. This level has a mission where you'll collect the 8 red coins in the level. Seems simple enough, I know. However, some of the later coins are stuck in areas where you're going to have to fight with the camera bit in order to return to a safer platform and not die. It's quite annoying at times when you're fighting the camera. Like I brought up, it's an early 3D game, so I'm willing to give it slack because it's to be expected, but when you go back to this game after playing something like a Galaxy or even a Mario Odyssey or different 3D platformers, you have to adjust to this a bit. Control-wise, Mario 64 is kind of weird, though. I love the moveset, but it is just janky now. Which, I mean, again, this game was made in the mid-90s. A lot of 3D platformers have these weird control issues back in the day, and I'd argue Mario 64 has aged better than some of those, but you still get my point before I ramble on a little bit more. Now, a fun moveset isn't fun without good levels to run around, though. I find Mario 64 has some of the most memorable levels in the series. Bob-omb Battlefield, the first level, is iconic, and it helps you get so used to that moveset while having a lot of fun set pieces to run around in the level. You have the really big Chain Chomp that can attack you, you can race with Koopa the Quick, there's this cool warp section where you can warp from the bottom of the mountain all the way to the top, which I loved as a kid. You have Bob-ombs raining down from the sky, and then you fight King Bob-omb, who is super easy, but I always thought he was really cool because you have, like, Mario pick him up and throw him, and I don't know, as a kid, I always liked the Bob-omb enemies. I don't know what it is, I just thought they were really cool. The second level, Whomp's Fortress, is also just really fun. This is the level I prefer over Bob-omb Battlefield, and it is just a nostalgia thing, but you're basically dealing with a lot of thwomps, and you're running through a big fortress. And I'll never forget being amazed the way I was the first time I found the owl in this level, and he flew me up really high in the air. And just looking down the fortress is such a cool thing to see for the first time. And I remember there's a mission in the game where you have to hold on to the owl, and he'll fly you up in the air, and you have to drop into a cage. And it's really hard to kind of plan that, like where you're gonna fall, because you can think you're lined up and still like completely miss, or Mario can hit the side of the cage and just fall and slide off the level, and it's so annoying. But I can't not talk about this level and not bring up how the thwomps look. I mean, just look at this guy. I love him. Jolly Roger's Bay is remembered for two reasons. The first being the very chill music, which I'll get into later, and the big eel unagi in the deep sea. People say this guy's really scary. I don't see it. I was always more scared of the Wall Masters from Ocarina of Time or the dog from Resident Evil 1, but you do you. This level also has a super annoying power star you have to get, and the way you get it is there's a platform that has the star on it, but you have a cannon you have to shoot yourself from in order to reach that pole to jump your way through, and I always struggle with that one a lot, and it is pure luck if you ever get that. I swear it is the most annoying level in the entire game. Cool Cool Mountain was a personal favorite of mine as a child. I love snow levels, and I always just had fun throwing the baby penguin off of the level. I just always thought it was funny.
Long live the king.
Those are just some of the levels on the first floor, and they're iconic for a reason. Mario 64 doesn't really have a bad level. It has some that are definitely meh, but nothing really bad. And once you've collected enough power stars, you can go up to the big metal door on the first floor that will lead you to Bowser in the Dark Land, which is probably one of my favorite Bowser levels of all time in the entire Mario series. And I'm not really sure why, but I've always just liked this level. I think it's the colors, and mostly because this is like the easiest Bowser level, so it's the one I could always beat as a kid. On this playthrough, actually, I actually learned a trick you can do, is where you can get on top of one platform and long jump your way and skip a good chunk of the level. Mario 64 has a ton of neat tricks like this that you can learn in order to skip good chunks of the game. And I wanted to bring up Mario 64 speedruns because I think it's something that is a part of the reason why I love this game so much. It's probably one of the most popular games to speedrun nowadays, and if you're interested, I highly recommend looking at some of the absolutely insane things Mario 64 speedruns can do. It's an absolute treat to watch, and you'll learn a lot from it if you like Mario 64. Once you reach the end of the level, though, you'll encounter a pipe, and once you jump in it, you'll see Bowser.
Holy Jesus. What is that?
Bowser, my man, you have seen some truly better days. I love this model of Bowser so much. It's so derpy, but hilarious. The Bowser fights in this game are quite simple, though. You run around him, grab his tail, and you throw him at a bomb. It's super simple, super easy, simple and clean, even. Bowser will give you a key to the next floor once you beat him, and here you'll travel to the basement floor of the castle. See, the way the castle works is there's multiple floors that you travel to, and you'll fight Bowser 3 times. Now, the bottom floor isn't as memorable to me, but it still has some fun moments. Big Boo's Haunt is a big ghost mansion. Sadly, no Luigi. No, L is not real, which makes me very sad, but you do fight ghosts here. You run around this big eyeball, which is still very weird, especially in a kid's game. And oh, a piano. Let's check this out. That part terrified me as a kid. I think that's scarier than Unagi, if I'm being honest. I think it's not so much that the piano has a mouth that's scary, it's more that it just suddenly attacks you, and as a kid, I was not ready for that at all. One of my personal favorites in the game, especially on the bottom floor, is Lethal Lava Land. I just think this level is a lot of fun. You have a big Bowser puzzle that you can run across in order to get to the red coins. You gotta be really careful where you're standing, though, because if you're not careful, the puzzle piece can come out from under you and throw you into the lava. You can also surf on the lava via Koopa Shell if you're lucky to get one, and the coolest part of this level to me is the volcano that you can jump into, which leads you into a whole separate level. It's a blast to play because when you go inside the volcano, it sends you all the way to the bottom, and you have to platform your way all the way to the top to get the Power Star. And there's 2 separate levels. There's one you do like a kind of like a ride on a platform to the top, but there's one where you have to more platform your way up to the level, and I love that part a lot. That is awesome, and I love when levels have secret levels in them, especially stuff like a volcano. That's just really cool. A level that a lot of people probably remember is Hazy Maze Cave. Now, this level is mostly known for introducing the Metal Cap power-up. See, Mario 64 is a game that I think has memorable power-ups, but I think it's only because of the nostalgia for this game. The power-ups in 64 are very situational and barely get used. The Metal Cap is cool in concept, but you rarely use it, and it's basically just the invincibility star with the Gimp jump. It's really funny that Metal Mario becomes such kind of a popular character, because he's in Smash Bros. Melee, where you fight him in the Adventure Mode, or Classic, and then he's in Mario Kart 7. Another popular power-up is the Wing Cap, and I just don't get the love for this power-up. I think it controls very awkwardly, and I find it often gets you killed more than anything. Mostly because I just suck with using it, because you constantly have to swerve and kind of work with the momentum in order to get airtime with it, but I just find it really annoying to work with, because a lot of the missions you do with the Wing Cap are just red coin missions, and I haven't even gotten red coin missions, but red coins are essentially special red coins that you can do in each level in order to get a Power Star. I never have liked red coins. I didn't like purple coins in Galaxy. I'm just not a fan of collecting the coins in these games. I like when they're more of an optional thing rather than Power Stars, but they are what they are. But again, I don't really like the Wing Cap. I think it's just kind of a boring gimmick kind of have, like for a power-up. I like the idea of flying, and I understand that probably getting flying to work in 3D as itself was a neat concept, but I just don't like how it controls. I wish they did more with it. I guess flying power-ups just had a rough transition into 3D. You also have the invisibility cap, and you can play this game without even realizing it's a thing. See, you have to play a secret level in order to get it, and I actually didn't know this power-up existed until the DS version of this game came out. Like I said earlier, these power-ups aren't bad, but they're just super situational, and I just don't really like them. With the invisibility cap, you literally use it just to go through cage walls to get a star, and that's all it is. If these power-ups are more available to you throughout the game, I would like these power-ups more, but they're just kind of meh, and I don't really like much of what they do. The Metal Cap's probably the most memorable one because you can like sink deep into water, and it basically is just the Power Star, but you're metal and you have a Gimp jump. But these just don't do anything for me, and sadly, the 3D games didn't really get good power-ups, I'd say, till 3D Land, but that's a story for another time. The second Bowser level of the game is Bowser and the Fire Sea, and this level looks really cool. I love all of the orange and the red you see with the lava. It's a really pretty level. And the second Bowser fight is pretty similar to the first one, but this time Bowser can jump and basically make the stage tilt, which I thought was really cool when you do this. It actually makes this probably the hardest Bowser fight in the game, but he's still really easy. Run around him, grab the tail, and throw to a bomb. It's super easy, and once you beat him, he'll give you a key to the upstairs portion of the castle. And the upstairs portion has my favorite level in the game in Tall Tall Mountain. Why is it my favorite? It has a monkey. Yeah, that's my reason. I don't know what it is, but me as a kid just loved monkeys, and I thought the idea of climbing up a big mountain on a platformer was really cool. It's probably why I like Celeste so much, because I think it gives you so many like fun scenarios when you're climbing up the mountain. You can chase a monkey, which is really cool. You fight a big bully that you can throw off of the mountain. You can jump across these huge mushrooms and a lot more. This level's awesome. Like, I love it. But one that people are going to remember the top for, probably for the most, is Tiny Huge Island. Basically, you have two paintings you can choose from, a small one and a big one. The small painting takes you to the small version level where Mario's a giant on it compared to the rest of the enemies, and then there's the big level where the enemies are giant compared to Mario. This level has a lot going for it, and each version has a warp pipe where you can switch from each different one, and I think that's a really cool concept. I do find the rest of this floor to just be kind of okay, though. Snowman's Land has this portion where you fight an ice bully and you knock him into the ice, which kills him somehow. So it made me kind of sit here and think, so does ice hurt the ice bully? Is he perpetually in pain? Please answer my questions, Nintendo. There's also Wet Dry World, which is a really, really annoying level, and I just find this level so boring because you're constantly changing the water levels in this, and I didn't like it in Ocarina of Time with the Water Temple. I don't like it here. You have to platform your way up to the top, and you have to like use these little vacuum, I don't know what you really call these guys, and they throw you up, and what often happens is you're going to get to the top, and the bully there will pick you up and throw you back down. You have to do it all over again. It's a really annoying level. The next floor actually has probably one of my favorite levels, though, in the form of Tick-Tock Clock. And this level is all about timing. This level is awesome because depending on the timing when you jump into the clock, the momentum and the movement of the level will kind of change. So what can happen is if you jump in when the clock's on the lower end, it'll move slower, or it can move more quickly. It has tons of cool platforming, and just the idea of running around inside of a giant clock is a really cool level theme that would get brought back in Mario Kart. I love this level, but I can't not talk about it without bringing up the legend himself, Electrical Beast.
I've been looking forward to showing you this. You know where this painting is? I'm going to teleport there. And that's Mario's new power, his teleportation. So from here, he's going to teleport. Mario, use teleport attack. And as you can see, Mario just teleported from over there to this painting. Isn't he magical?
Another very memorable moment of 64 is the stairs to the final level. Now, everyone knows the meme behind this. You can't reach the top of the stairs until you've gotten at least 70 stars. Well, that's at least what's intended. You can actually do a glitch with the long jump that lets Mario pretty much skip all the way to the top of the stairs and do the final level, which is really cool. But before we get to the final level and the ending, I want to talk about the music from Mario 64. Mario 64 isn't one of my favorite Mario soundtracks, but it does have some of my favorite songs in the series, and it has some of the most iconic songs in the entire series. Please have a listen to these crazy good tracks. Again, I love this soundtrack a lot. It's not my favorite 3D Mario soundtrack, but it's still iconic. You got the Bomb Battlefield, the slide theme, Dire Dire Docks, the file select music, Koopa Road. Oh my god, there's such good music in 64, and it would get remixed a lot as the game aged, and it gets better and better and better as you listen to it. I love the 64 soundtrack. It is the soundtrack of my childhood, I'm not gonna lie. When it comes to video games mainly, I mean. But before we get to the ending, we have a princess to rescue, so let's jump into the final level, Koopa Road. The final level of Mario 64 is great. I adore Koopa Road for the music, how it looks, and it has a bunch of really fun platforming to do. Running up the big walkway that curves, jumping on the big swinging platforms, and that end bit where Mario sees the statues and you have the wind blowing towards you, it's kind of pushing you back. Well, these statues actually have little, like, carvings of Mario and Bowser from the original Super Mario Bros., which is a really nice touch. Mario 64 has a lot of nice touches like this. And that final Bowser fight, it's similar to the other ones, but this time Bowser will run at you, shoot out different types of flames, and when you get a hit on him, he'll actually break the stage up into a star shape. It's pretty cool, but we've done this song and dance before, and I'm kind of sick of doing the run around, grab his tail and stuff, so no more.
So long, Bowser! Thank you so much for playing my game.
With Bowser defeated, we get the giant star, which ironically doesn't count, which I still think is funny, but we get the wing cap and we fly around the stage, and I love this little bit. I love the little musical piece that plays here with the little triumphant trombone, I think is what it is, and it just makes you feel really badass. You beat Mario 64, and I remember the first time I played and beat 64, I didn't actually beat 64 until I was about maybe 7 or 8, because I was a little too young to understand when I first played it, and I was so happy. It felt like a big event for my life, in a way. Like, it's like when you ace that test, or when you practice so much of something and you do well, and you just do it! And that's how I feel with Mario 64, and I know it's a video game, but as a kid, where I struggled with such events, and I played this with my grandma, it was really, really cool for me to finally beat this game. And even today when I beat it, I've beaten Mario 64 thousands of times, I'm sure now, it still feels really special when I get to hear that little trumpet piece or there at the end. It just makes me so happy. Mario lands inside the castle with Peach magically coming out of it. Don't really understand where she got sealed, but whatever works, it's Nintendo logic. She gives Mario his thanks, a kiss on the nose for some reason. Mario gives us the peace sign, and Peach says it's time for Mario's cake to be baked. All of that for just the cake. What a ripoff. And with that, we have finished Super Mario 64. I don't really know what I can say about Mario 64 that hasn't been said already. It's a game that changed gaming forever. It was, in my opinion, the first huge successful leap into the realm of 3D. Yes, other games technically did it before, and later games would do it better, Sonic Adventure, but it's still a game that I think people should play. Has it aged? Oh, very much so, but I still think there's a lot of fun to be had with it. I still find a lot of the levels really fun and charming. There are sections that definitely give me issues, either the controls and the occasional jankiness that you experience while playing the game, and I find wall jumping and kind of the movement, like the skid, to be really annoying, and fallback from enemies is also annoying. However, I still think there's a lot of fun here despite the age. I love the music, I love the levels, I love, just the silliness of it all. I love Mario 64, and I hope I wasn't too negative in this video where it came out that I don't. This is one of my favorite games of all time. I do think later 3D Mario games definitely took this formula to gangbusters with it, but it's always fun coming back and seeing where 3D Mario started. This game would actually get a Nintendo DS remake in the form of Super Mario 64 DS, which I'm going to talk about in a separate video because it's so different, but if you're super interested in playing Mario 64, it's available on a lot of stuff. You can play on the Nintendo Switch Online service, you can get a physical copy, the DS version if you can find it, obviously emulators, or if you're feeling cheeky and brave, there is a Super Mario 64 HD mod on the internet that is great. It cleans up the game and fixes a few issues. Mario 64 is an incredibly important game to me. It was one of the first video games that I ever played growing up, and I've made loads of memories talking about it with friends, playing it with my grandma, and more. My grandma is no longer with me, unfortunately, but whenever I play this game, it always makes me think of her because of how many memories I made with it with her. And for that, I will always love Mario 64, not just for that, but the memories it's given me, and for honestly shaping me for who I am today. Through the jankiness, through the weird camera, but also the great music, the levels, the fun, everything, I've always loved this game, and I'll always value the memories and time I've spent with it. Thank you all for watching, and take care.
Thank you so much for playing my game.